Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. Let me tell you a story that doesn't sound like the title of the video that you clicked on, okay? So I'm talking to Victor and he's watching The House of Cards, right? A TV show with Kevin Spacey. It's if you haven't seen it, it's fantastic and it's terrible. It's at the same time. And he's this politician who will just do anything and he eventually becomes president. Spoiler, like, it's phenomenally good. The last season, okay, whatever. Anyways, basically, he makes this comment to me and he's like, man, these are the worst people in the world, the way they behave, you know? And I was sitting there watching and I got to the second season and I realized they act just like Jews, right? Except for when they're doing all this crazy bad stuff, every once in a while they have like a moment of remorse and then they get over it and just continue to do the bad stuff, you know? And I heard that and I started thinking about it, you know? Okay, pretty interesting, you know? And then I started thinking about, there's this whole genre of novels like, fiction novels. Well, I guess they could be true stories too, but they like Michael Crichton and stuff like that. They're criminal justice type novels, and they're all about this morality and all these moral conundrums that you can get into when you're in criminal justice, right? So say you got a guy, like I'm just making an extreme example. Say you got a guy and he's arrested for killing someone, we'll say. Read him his Miranda rights. He says, I want to talk to a lawyer. Cop writes on the report, he said he wants to talk to a lawyer. Take him back to the station, detectives start questioning him. He could sit there and say whatever he wants, right? He can admit to doing it. He could say there's 20 other people he killed. Here's where the 20 other bodies are at. He could say all that stuff. None of that stuff's admissible in court, right? The prosecutor's not even going to contest its admissibility in court. But they can go dig up the bodies. They can go look for evidence on those bodies that lead them to him. So whatever. So say the guy's now at trial, right? So the defense lawyer who's defending him knows that he's 100% guilty. This guy should not be out in the world, you know? The prosecutor knows. The judge knows. Everybody knows, right? And so then there's this moral quandary where it's like the defense attorney says, man, should I really defend him really good? Like, this guy's going to kill more people if I let him out, right? And the judge is like, man, maybe I should sustain some objections that I wouldn't really normally do. Maybe when I write the jury instructions, I'll just write them so they favor him getting, convicted a little bit more. And the prosecutor's like, what if I do something illegal and I fudge the evidence? And these books are just thrilling and they're so interesting. And these people are having the detective's drinking too much at nights because he's about to perjure himself, but he's got to do it for the good of the community. And there's all these moral struggles. And I realized, based on what Victor said about House of Cards, what if you take everybody in the story and you just replace them with Jews, right? So say there's a Jewish defense attorney, say there's a Jewish prosecutor, say there's a Jewish judge and a Jewish detective. Now you got no moral quandaries. Do you see what I'm saying? The moral problem ceases to exist. I think Jews probably look at Michael Crichton and just laugh and laugh, you know what I mean? Because it's so silly. Because, like, for example, there's a scene in Devil's Advocate. It's at the very beginning. I believe it's Keanu Reeves, right? And he's defending a pedophile. And the girl who's the victim, who's a very young girl, is up on the stand. And she's explaining what happened to her. And the guy's like knees hitting the table or something or shaking. And Keanu Reeves looks over at him and he sees the guy's getting excited, you know? And it's like, could you defend that guy? Let me ask you this. And my answer is absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm a decent human being. And I understand that guy deserves defense in a certain manner, you know? It's not going to be me. But you put a Jewish guy in that seat as the defense attorney and he's like, oy vey, like, how much am I getting paid? Because it's just stupid goy doing stupid goy stuff, you know? Pedophilia is rampant in the Talmud, not the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible. And the Talmud is the writings of the rabbis, right? And that Jewish defense attorney may have just come from synagogue the day before where he saw his rabbi with his mouth around the bleeding unit of a newly circumcised infant sucking the blood, like doing some blood magic nonsense, you know? And he's like, oh, what's too bad about what this girl's saying on the stand? And so it erases the moral difficulty that is the centerpiece of the entire genre of literature, you know, of criminal justice books, you know? And like, take it back to House of Cards. So do you see my point there though? About how this is why Jewish people are so good at law, because a lot of other people who have morals, who have similar morals to ours, could not do those jobs. But you take a people who think that they are higher to all other human beings on the planet than the distance between human beings, such as myself, and a dog. So the distance between me and a dog, they're farther than that, superior to me. Almost a different species, or it literally says a different species in some of the texts in the Talmud. Okay, so now take it back to the House of Cards, right? I was thinking about politicians, right? So, and I know there are terrible, evil, white, black folk, Hispanic folk who are politicians, but imagine you had Antony Blinken's job. So Antony Blinken is Secretary of State, and he's a Jewish guy, right? And I don't know, but I have no doubt that he's a dual citizen of Israel. I don't know, okay? And they do have I was looking it up though. They do have a thing in Congress that they're trying to pass that says just everybody who's in Congress has to just state if they have dual citizenship. But of course that'll never pass. But that is interesting that somebody's trying to cook it up. I'd be interested to see who's sponsoring that bill. Anyways, say he gets up there. In the past, this has happened, and there's this, new study comes out, says 99 out of 99 studies say that there's a genocide going on in Gaza. I'm just making this up, numbers, whatever. And then they tell Antony Blinken, they're like, hey, go out there and tell him, it's not a genocide, right? So they go out there and ask him, so 99 out of 99 studies say it's a genocide in Gaza. What's the America's position? And he says, well, I mean, it's clearly not a Gaza because one study, 1 out of 100, it's done by the pro-Israel, Israel for America and Peace and Christians and Zionists in Israel Foundation says that it's not a genocide. So it's clearly not a genocide. They're like, what about the 40,000 women? No, it's not a genocide, right? And then he comes out the next day and they're like, hey, we've got a IDF whistleblower saying that they were anally raping people with metal objects, who were Palestinians who were in custody, and that one guy died from it and this and that. And he's like, no, that's an unreliable source. You got to get up there and defend all the worst stuff in the world. How could a human being possibly do that? Oh, unless you're Jewish, Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's not terrible, like this, I don't even know her name, John Pierre, this lady's awful. And if you talk to somebody who absolutely hated President Trump, they would say the same thing about like Kelly McKinney. I forget her name. The different women who, the Arkansas lady who also defended Trump as a press speaker, the White House speaker to the press, whatever. I don't know what's called. Anyways, this is just like some of the stuff you say, well, Jews are very good at some things, so they have proclivities for that, so they tend to those professions, and then they're very good at them, But I'm starting to see more and more that it's not a propensity or proclivity towards that profession. It's that you have the I don't want to say anything too terrible, but the absolutely missing morality, so that you can perform that action. So like when everybody, they say Jews are really good at banking. They're really good at banking, right? Well, no, they were just the only people who were willing to do the sin of usury. Nobody else wanted to do it. No Muslim wanted to do it. No Christian wanted to do it. They said, that's disgusting. No, right? And then people say, well, Jews are really good at banking. No, they're just the only ones low enough morally to do it, right? And then the same thing comes with law, You have a ton of lawyers who are Jewish, and it's because there are white people who do it and are low. And not all lawyers are trash. I'm just saying, not all people are defending the pedophile, or, there's all types of civil court and all types of stuff going on. But in the worst positions, it makes sense that a certain people there who don't lack the morality to even care about the moral conflict that we read about in the Crichton books. Anyways, I just thought this was an interesting way of looking at it. You can look at every single area of professions and stuff like that Jews have succeeded in, and you're going to find that it's from a lack of morality, not that they're particularly good at the thing. They're doing evil things that just nobody else will do because it's beneath them morally. And it's an interesting perspective. You could look back historically and see a lot of different stuff like that. I mean, honestly, let's just go back, honestly. Well, Look at the child trafficking thing. Okay. Well, you could go back to slavery. You could go back to so many different things. In slavery, the people doing the trafficking, the ship services, I can cover this in another episode, but there were Jewish people on Jewish companies on Jewish boats, and they were bringing the slaves around because they were the ones who didn't have the morality not to do it. And I know white people did it too, and shame on them, and so did Arabs, shame on them. And the same thing goes with the child trafficking. Whether it's today, like when they were filming Sound of Freedom, I've talked about that story before. They just bust some child traffickers while they're filming the movie about child trafficking. But then they said the ringleaders got away and fled back to Israel. That's what the newspaper article said. Well, is it because Jews are a bunch of pervs? No, it's just because, well, yeah, but but the reason they are is because they lack the morals not to do it. There's no reason not to do them. I'm prohibited from doing that because I'm a decent human being. They just see the world entirely different. And because of how they were trained in the Talmud. But you can go back to Weimar Germany and same thing. They were trying to get rid of the sex trafficking, and it was done by Jews. They were trying to get rid of the sex changes and the transvestitism and the homosexuality, and it was all being pushed by Jews. And look at your LGBTQ movement in your country and see who started it. I know in mine who started mine. Anyways, that's what I got for you. I thought it was an interesting way to look at the world. Hope to see you next time.